Hey gang, and welcome back. These videos are brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your unused collection fast and easily. 401 Games, Canada's top shop for all your hobby and TCG needs. Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. Moxfield, the easiest way to store and share your deck lists. And Foil Armor, flatten your foils fast. Mathieu wins the die roll and starts off. He draws, playing a tap Path of Ancestry and passing. Max plays an island and pays 1 for a Wayfarer's Bauble. Will's turn is quite quick with a tapped Temple Garden. Arja just plays a swamp. Mathieu's turn has a mountain coming in and he passes. Max plays a Northampton farm and ships it. Will's land for turn is a plains and he casts Intangible Virtue. During the end step, Max sacrifices his bauble to go and find a basic island. Arja's got a swamp and casts Hecta Eyes, which as it enters, has each opponent discarding a card. Mathieu plays a luxury suite for turn, and brings out Ryan Sinclair. He gets to scry one from the Path of Ancestry, and passes after resolving it. Max's land drop is a tapped Lonely Sandbar, and he pays 2 for a Felwar Stone. He then pays 2 more for a Silver Mirror, and passes. Will's got a forest, and then casts Queen Alanol. Arja's got a matching swamp for turn, and he casts Braids in his main phase. Going to his end step, he sacrifices the Hecta Eyes, and each opponent declines to sacrifice a creature, which has Arja drawing 3, and each opponent losing 2. Mathieu's turn has him start off by playing a land, and bringing up the War Doctor. He gets to scry one from his path, and then goes to combat. He swings Ryan Sinclair at Max, and Mathieu gets to exile his own top card, which is Gonti, and he bottoms it because Ryan has only 2 power and can't cast it. This does still give the War Doctor a counter though, and he passes after that. Max's turn has him bringing out Kitsune in his main phase, and as she enters, he swaps his Silver Mirror for Braids. Going to his end step, Max then sacrifices Felwar Stone, and each opponent declines, taking 2 so Max draws 3. Will just plays a Tree of Tales, and then brings out Selvala, his commander, passing after that. Arja's got another matching swamp, and he casts Jet Medallion. He then plays an Elderfang Disciple, which enters and has each opponent discarding a card. He follows up with his signature card, a Cursed Marauder, and with the ability on the stack, he pays 4 life to cast an air quote free dismember as he calls it, and he takes out his own Braids. The table then sacrifices a creature. Arja then plays out an Omen of the Dead, and as it comes in, returns the Accursed Marauder to his hand. Matt's land is a tapped Castle Lochthwain, and he goes to combat, swinging the War Doctor at Max. He gets an on-attack trigger, blasting the Disciple, which in turn gets exiled instead of going to the graveyard. This adds another counter onto the War Doctor. Max then takes the hit. 4 mana then gets Matt a Charred Foyer, and he passes after that. Max's land is an island, and he casts an Isochron Scepter. He imprints Runaway Together onto it, and then activates it. He bounces the War Doctor and his own Silver Mirror back to their owner's hands. Will's turn has him Eternal Witnessing and bringing back a forest from his graveyard. This also gets him a Mercenary token from Selvala, and moving to combat, he swings Selvala at Arja for 4. Thankfully she has Vigilance, otherwise this would be really awkward as Will taps Selvala for mana to help cast Welcoming Vampire. This gets him another Mercenary token, and he then passes turn. Arja recasts Braids in his main phase, and then a Forsaken Miner. He casts a Bone Shards, sacrificing the miner as part of the cost, and he targets the Welcoming Vampire. Because he's committing a crime, he can pay the 1 black to bring back the miner, and does so as the vampire is destroyed. He then moves to his end step, and the Omen is sacrificed to Braids, which has each opponent losing 2, and Arja draws another 3 cards. Matt's upkeep has him exiling Toxic Deluge to the Charred Foyer, and he draws for turn. He plays a Fabled Passage, cracking it and going to find a basic. Matt then unlocks the Warped Space side of his room, and he's able to cast the Toxic Deluge for 0 mana, putting 5 life into it to wipe the board. Max just draws, replays his Silver Mirror, and he ships it after that. Will's turn is equally fast, casting Elemental Bond and passing. Arja's main phase has him tapping a lot of mana to cast a Grave Betrayal for 1 less thanks to the Jet Medallion. He passes after his enchantment resolves. Matt's upkeep has him exiling a Bright Climb Pathway for his Foyer trigger, and he draws. He then plays the pathway and casts a Stolen Strategy. With nothing else, he passes. Max drops an Endless Sands, and this is the first time I think I've ever seen it, before casting a Heraldic Banner. He picks blue as it enters and passes. Will starts his turn off by casting Silk Webweaver, and he draws a card from the Elemental Bond as she comes in. He passes after that. Arja's turn has him casting an Innocent Blood first thing, and Max responds to it by activating his Scepter to cast Runaway, bouncing his Mirror and Will's Silk back to their owner's hands. Braids then comes back, and Arja moves to his end step, sacrificing a land. Once more his opponents take the 2, while he draws 3. Matt's upkeep has him resolving the stolen strategy first, exiling off his opponents, and then exiles a card to his Charred Foyer. He then draws for turn, playing Caves of Koilos. He casts Chart a Course for free, drawing 2 and discarding a card. He then follows up with a Theater of Horrors and passes. Max draws and casts an Archaeomancer in his main phase, and targets the Chart a Course. With the return trigger on the stack, Matt casts Cling to Dust, trying to exile it and draw a card. Max responds to this, casting an Essence Flux and bounces his Wizard, which, as it enters, retargets the spell. This has it returning to his hand, and fizzles the Cling. But with less mana than he'd hoped for, Max just passes turn. Will draws, recasts Silk, draws as she enters, and passes. Arja's got a Swamp, and he casts a Grim Bauble, and as it enters, targets the Archaeomancer to at least try and force Max to activate the Scepter. Max goes for it, bouncing the Archaeomancer and Braids back to their owner's hands. Arja then recasts Braids, and follows up with an Ichor Wellspring, drawing a card as it enters. He then plays a Bloodghast. Going to his end step, he sacrifices the Wellspring, drawing a card as it hits the graveyard. He then draws another 3 as his opponents don't sacrifice an artifact, and Matt decides to also get in on the action, casting a Chaos Warp and targeting the Isochron Scepter. This is Max shuffling it in, and he hits a High Tide off the top. Max decides to keep it on top, and we move to Matt's turn. Once more, Matt exiles his opponent's top cards, then a Basilisk Collar to the Theater, and a Chaos Wand to his Charred Foyer. He then draws for turn, and plays a Battlefield Forge. He's then able to cast the Black Market for free thanks to Warp Space, and he then plays a Chaos Wand. He then recasts the War Doctor from his hand. Metia then casts Path to Exile from Exile to deal with the Bloodghast permanently. He ships it after that. Max casts Chart of Course in his main phase, drawing his 2 and discarding a card. He then plays an Abhorrent Oculus, exiling a card from his graveyard, and passes. Max manifests his top card on Will's upkeep, and Will draws for turn. He plays an Enduring Innocence. This makes him a human token from Silk, and the token enters first. Sakura Tribelder then hits the stack, with Silk making him another token, but he gets to draw from this one at least. Will then plays a Forest for turn, and going to combat, swings Silk at Arja. Max manifests on Arja's upkeep, with Arja playing a Swamp in his main phase. He then casts Fumulus, the Infestation, and this has Will sacrificing his Elder to go and find a basic while the insect is on the stack. The Elder in turn is exiled to the Grave Betrayal, and Fumulus then enters, and Arja pays 3 mana for the other Braids. He follows her up with Liliana the Veil, and down takes her to make Max sacrifice a creature. Max sacrifices a Manifest, which Arja exiles, and Arja then also makes an insect token. Arja then continues by casting a Hopeless Nightmare, which has each opponent discarding a card and losing 2 life. He finishes up with a Caustic Bronco. Going to his end step, he brings back the creatures he stole with the Grave Betrayal to the field with a +1/+1 counter. This has him hiding away a card with the Watcher enter the battlefield trigger. Arja then moves to Braids trigger, sacrificing the Watcher, and once more, each opponent loses 2 while Arja draws 3. Max manifests on Matt's upkeep, and Braids also triggers as well. This is Matt tapping his Swamp for a black mana, and then sacrifices it. He then exiles the top cards to the Stolen Strategy from each opponent, and then exiles a card to the Theater, and then exiles a card to the Charred Foyer. This has the War Doctor gaining a total of 5 counters. Matt then casts the Stolen Painful Quandary, and uses the floating black mana from the Black Market to help cast Clara Oswald. Metia then casts Day of the Doctor, and as the Saga comes in, he exiles off the top a total of 22 cards until he hits Valky, which has Clara doubling it, for a total of 44 counters going onto the War Doctor. Going to combat, he swings the War Doctor at Arja. He gets 2 on attack triggers thanks to Clara doubling them, and he targets Arja and Will with the triggers. This is lethal to both of them, and Metia loses his stolen permanents from them. He then moves to his second main phase, casting Guild Artisan. He passes after that. Before moving to the end step, Max casts a Teferi's Time Twist and exiles one of his manifests. It returns to the field as a revealed Isochron Scepter, and Max gets to imprint Mana Drain onto it this time as he moves to his turn. Max has an island, and his main phase has him casting Inundate, picking blue. All non-blue creatures get bounced back to their owner's hands, and Max then goes to combat. He hits Mathieu with the Oculus and passes. Matt exiles an island to the Stolen Strategy, then a Plains to his Foyer, and Dark Ritual to the Theater, and Max remembers to manifest. Matt then draws for turn, and in his main phase, adds a second counter onto the Day of the Doctor, exiling until he hits a legendary, which is Gonti. Matt then plays the exiled Plains for turn, and he casts Gonti. With the spell in the stack, Max responds with his Scepter, mana draining it. Mathieu then plays out an Underworld Breach. He uses it to help cast Chaos Warp from his graveyard by escaping it, and he targets the Scepter. This is Max permanently losing the mana drain, and he shuffles the Scepter in. He offers the cut, but Matt doesn't go for it, and instead Max reveals Greaves off the top, which go into the field. Matt then passes turn, sacrificing the Underworld Breach during the end step. Max draws, casting Kitsune in his main phase, and he has nothing he wants to swap for. He then gears her up with the Greaves. At this point, Max also realizes his banner should have pumped up the Oculus by 1 power last time, and he takes an extra point off of Matt. Going to combat, he swings his whole team at Matt. They connect for a total of 15, and Max then goes to his second main phase. He casts a Dowerport Mage, and equips the Lightning Greaves onto it, and passes. Max manifests on Mathieu's upkeep, and Matt then exiles an island to the strategy, and then exiles a Reanimate to the theater, and a dragon to the rest. He then goes to his main phase, exiling Amadeus to the Day of the Doctor, and Matt then moves to cast Valky as his Planeswalker half for free, with Tybalt Cosmic Imposter entering the field. He then downticks the Walker, targeting the Oculus. Max responds to this ability by activating his Dowerport Mage, bouncing the Oculus to his hand, and drawing a card as it leaves play. Matt then recasts the War Doctor after that, and then a Dothy Voidwalker, and passes. Max draws, playing an island. He replays the Abhorrent Oculus, exiling a card from his graveyard, which gives the War Doctor a counter. Max then recasts the Ochiromancer, and with it on the stack, Matt activates his Chaos Wand. Max exiles a Reality Shift off the top, which won't help as much as you think, and Mathieu exiles the Oculus. He knows he's still done for though either way, and just scoops it up to Max. Game review time. So, my card of the game was the War Doctor. Yes, Clara definitely helped, but being able to blast 2 players in the face for 44 points of damage is just super sweet. Other than that, it was great to see some old fun cards like Grave Betrayal. I love seeing these old cards popping up again and doing so much, especially these big flashy rares from older sets. And it's shocking to say out loud that the first time Grave Betrayal was printed was in 2012, which was over 10 years ago. Yikes. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.